What's up, everyone? It is me, Q. Hope you're all doing well. And with me is my very good friend, Lumos Theromax. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
What's up, guys? It's me, Lumos Theromax, Big Lantern and DC fan. Glad to be here, bro.
Awesome. And today we have a banger, and quite possibly, thinking about it, the both of us, maybe the hardest versus battle we ever had to come to a possible conclusion for. And that is talking about the White Phoenix of the Crown versus Lumos. Who are you going to be representing?
Be representing Dr. Manhattan in this battle.
Okay, so yes, it is going to be a incredibly spicy, interesting one. So let's get to it with Jean Grey first. As the White Phoenix of the Crown, Jean Grey's most broken form were merging with the Phoenix Force. She's most concise with it, that they're stated to be two in the same. Jean, with this, was able to basically balance the whole entire 616 universe, quote unquote, basically in like the palm of her hands, and like with the subatomic levels, just pick it apart if she wanted to. So the White Phoenix, through the continuous fixation on protecting others, can basically use transdimensional powers like telepathy, clairvoyance, through the White Hot Room, which is located deeper in the far shore, which is crazy from the Marvel cosmological standpoint. I'll address that later. For example here, she reaches out to Emma Frost and saves her from being mind-fucked by Lady Mastermind. So she could basically just go back and forth, from complete safety, and do whatever she wants from the White Hot Room, with full power, which is pretty whack. We'll get into that later. She holds such control of their Phoenix Force that from any distance at any time, she can call the parts of it, which may be scattered, even by other hosts, regardless, and just rip them out. So she has extreme power control. As well as big cosmic awareness through that. So let's say when I was talking about earlier, where she can basically use her powers through the White Hot Room to their full extent, when good old Scott Summers took the full-on powers of the Dark Phoenix, as he stated, he could easily walk through the White Hot Room. He walked out, and, he's trying to flex, and with his boundless power, he stated, I know that's just a stupid statement, but Jean knew instantly of this and BFR'd him out of her dorm room, basically, since that's all she stays in, and took his powers away. And so basically she can one-shot anyone Dark Phoenix level with complete ease, which is pretty whack. Through her unsurprising preemptive knowledge of destruction to come, since she's kind of like a parallel to Scarlet Witch, she knew in one case where Logan was currently residing, in the 616, and basically embodies creation and destruction when she basically kind of changed things around to save Logan, traveling to an alternate reality where instead of Logan getting boloed by destruction, it became full-on nature. She constructed a whole new reality, so she can just identify different parts throughout the multiverse and just reconstruct them to her will. Full-on, probably omniscience, you could say, to be honest, from that standpoint. Another case of extreme reality warping and dimensional travel, similar to her feat with Logan, but with more impressive context. Instead of yoinking him and traversing to a different safe reality, she in this case felt like erasing the totality of this reality from the White Hot Room, as she pulled Scott in to show him what was about to be fucked by the dystopian future. So this is extremely impressive. She can erase entire realities through the White Hot Room, and just not predict the future, just show it, since she knows the outcomes. Through one of the cheesiest scans, of course, we got Jean Grey and Phoenix, and the White Hot Room being at the far shore, which from the cosmological standpoint and Marvel is kind of at the very crux point, the edge of everything. Phoenix was like, yo, we can easily transcend this place if we just work together. And there's never been technically a limit on where that was stated to really end off at, which is kind of stupid. We all have those statements, right? Dr. Manhattan has some sussy statements like that, right, Lumos?
Oh yeah, dude, it's about to get crazy between the these two dudes.
Oh god. Okay, so yeah, and this is whack because the White Hot Room, in more recent issues, has shown to be reside far, far past the Far Shore itself. So it just resides to immeasurable distances where you think it could be within it, and it is stated to reside so far on the Far Shore that it resides in pure mystery. This could strongly point it to the White Hot Room residing in the next place. This is a void which is timeless, spaceless, lifeless, deathless, conceptualless, so it's pretty whack, and is well beyond all realms known within Marvel Comics. This is most likely where Oblivion resides, in my opinion, somewhere far away, amongst others of that stupid ass ridiculous nature. So, and then I'll just kind of wrap up quickly. The Far Shore alone, let alone the next place, again, just wrapping up, is at the peak of Marvel cosmology, as shown here, even above overspace, to the extent of the known, and surpassing every cosmos, including the 8th. Remember, 8th Cosmos Eternity, who basically, enveloped the Living Tribunal during that one run? That was just stupid. And basically, the Jean Grey could basically look the 8th Cosmos Eternity look like a little fodder boy. And lastly, I would just say where Jean Grey chills in the next place on a regular basis was a place so potent it was the only location the ultimate ultimates could possibly travel and believe would be strong and reliable enough to contain the first firmament against its will to chill, who basically, in one instance was said to basically create all of Marvel, an extent of creation. So I think the Phoenix Force should scale higher than first firmament, since he was just being that was basically his prison when Jean Grey was watching over it, eating some fucking popcorn and just doing other shit on the fly. And remember, she can transcend it technically, with that cheese quote. So yeah, that's what I'll do for now for her. She's whack. We could rattle shit off for days, but yeah, it's pretty whack. And then I'm gonna have Lumos over here rip Manhattan, and let's get on that.
So when it comes to Dr. Manhattan, cosmologically, we're gonna have to place him so you guys can understand the realms at which he can comprehend and traverse, very similar to Phoenix of the White Crown, with how high she transcends within Marvel cosmology. So Dr. Manhattan left his multiverse and came to ours. Well, what does that mean? Well, Dr. Manhattan left his home multiverse within the greater omniverse, or a place that essentially is the overvoid, traversed the overvoid and came to our creation, and then traversed the source wall to get here. So traversing all of these planes is wildly impressive in terms of what it offers. After all, sometimes the source wall has been claimed to be the source by the source itself, as in recently within the Green Lantern 2021 series. So all of these things are wildly impressive feats within the context of all of DC cosmology. Outside of that, obviously, Dr. Manhattan has a wide variety of both hacks as well as statements for his character, as well as obviously AP feats and things like that. So starting off with his hacks, obviously he's an acausal being that exists absolutely everywhere at the same time and can create essentially entire quantum realms based on every action that he potentially could have consistently. And this is something he manipulates to his advantage to a very, very, very great degree. And quantum realms within the context of DC, obviously cosmologically, are come from the microverse, and this is this ultra sub realm that exists below everything else and is the building blocks for all of creation. And Manhattan is notorious for having shown up and absolutely just dismantling all of DC cosmology pretty consistently and pretty easily, such as when he mind hacks Flash to basically blow it up during the Flashpoint event, or whenever he got more hands-on with his approaches during either the Button or during, like, Doomsday Clock, for example. And during Doomsday Clock, he was running around deleting characters' entire multiversal archetypes from creation, and not just lesser-known ones, more strong ones, such as Superman's. And to give you an idea, Superman's multiversal archetype is something that the Light sent to essentially make sure that we didn't shit the bed in the multiverse. So some pretty wildly important things. Other beings who transcend to the overvoid and roam across it, such as Silkman, who and Lucifer, are often very like violent beings that wind up throwing hands and are pretty crazy powerful just for having traversed those planes and are actively looking to cause harm to one another. We don't have any evidence he fought anyone up there, but chances are traversing the overvoid, I mean, he's going to wind up throwing hands with characters at that level. His minions alone were capable of terrifying Mr. Mixelpidalic to returning to the 5th dimension and never coming back, as well as he could feel people tampering with higher dimensional structures within the cosmology, such as the life web, and could shut that down, such as when he did to Kyle Rayner, the White Lantern, whenever he tried to revive all the Blue Lanterns and shattered his White Lantern ring. This is wildly impressive because it held a shard of the life equation within it, as well as this same Kyle Rayner traversed past the source wall himself, solidifying more of a greater than source and or source wall level character himself. Dr. Manhattan is a really inquisitive being and is really intelligent whenever it comes to analyzing opponents as well as threats, such as whenever the entire league jumped him while he was in a nerfed state and he shadow cloned himself and wrecked the majority of the league before they could react, and or used their own magics against them, claiming that the most powerful magics that the DC and multiverse had to offer was considered scraps of his powers that he could use against them. Obviously, his AP scales to high out or to boundless, depending on what you're choosing to view, and I think that the matchup between these two Titans is going to be considered absolutely massive, and the tail end of my argument will be the same thing that you tailed off with, that not only have we seen evidence that he's traversed the overvoid itself, scaling similarly to both characters, and evidence saying he came from another multiverse, but we also have more evidence from an encyclopedia that recently came out claiming that he is on a higher plane that is beyond the defined levels of existence, aka the unknown. And we don't know where that's located or where exactly that sits, only that also the empty-handed the gentry have been there.
Okay, well, that was definitely insane, as we know it is with Manhattan nowadays. Once you couldn't stop nukes, and now you know it, he's a, unknown fucking plane. Whoop-de-doo. So I was actually having a bit of a talk with Lumos before this on how ridiculously close the two of us see this battle playing out, and how these two are so close in character, kind of, to an extent, that it's kind of very hard for us to come to a conclusion. But we'll kind of just talk and come up with possible ways this could possibly go down. What's on the top of your mind, Lumos? Do you have anything that's could tip the battle, since they're both easily high outer to boundless?
I definitely could see some win cons for either side, in all honesty. I think that the inquisitive nature of Dr. Manhattan figuring out the white hot room, I think would be really interesting to see, and I definitely think he has the capabilities of doing that for sure. I think Jean Grey's best bet would be either manipulating him in that room where she has full control of things before he has the idea to figure things out, because that's what makes Manhattan really scary, is he just wants to figure shit out. He'll do anything to figure it out. And using that against him is her best option, because the longer things go, I think the more frustrating the battle will get. for her, in my opinion. So if she can like drag him in there and immediately utilize the full array of her powers, I could definitely see that working, simply because that should be at least comparable to the highest plane that we've 100% confirmed he's traversed.
That's definitely reasonable. But let's say, trying to understand the White Hot Room, since if he does do so, I feel like she's definitely screwed, since that's kind of her catalyst for all of her power. It's been heavily hinted at and mentioned before that the White Hot Room most likely resides in the next place, which is basically as far as we can measure with like the cosmology, kind of like follows the far shore, and that's I say like timeless, spaceless, lifeless. Okay, Manhattan doesn't care about that, but what about like being conceptualless and beyond all realms in Marvel? Do you think he could like still possibly get past that tall of an ask? Like, I just feel, yeah.
Here's my, now I'll admit this is somewhat speculative, but here would be my reasoning. Okay, so we have this idea called the unknown, and the only people from there are Manhattan, the Gentry, and Empty Hand. That's a weird selective 3. We know that Dr. Manhattan was cursed by the Great Darkness. I believe that territory is actually outside of everything. It literally was the Great Darkness. That's when and where he got cursed.
Whoa.
They come back and torture the verse.
Whoa. God. Oh, that speculation leads to a fucking heavy buff.
Completely, but I'll admit I don't have any evidence, like 100%, that he had traversed a plane outside of like the quote-unquote overvoid.
Yeah.
Other than the one scan of him going to quote-unquote the unknown, we just don't know where that unknown is. It's just beyond the defined levels of existence, and the defined levels of existence currently would be the overvoid, and that's described as the end of everything, mind, matter, memory, and story.
It's funny. It's like, yeah, they almost mirror themselves. Maybe not the last one, but I mean, at that point, basically, the next place is basically past like all narratives.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah, the unknown. I feel like if that's, because he's already easily sourced. Like he's been through the source and shit. And if you have the unknown aspect, somehow like transcends that, that could be worrisome. But then I could use my.
So ambiguous.
Yeah, it's like the cheese statement.
Yeah.
It's like the cheese statement, like I have. It's like we can transcend the White Hot Room, which is funny. It's like the same exact fucking thing. They both have a cheese statement, which leads to like an immeasurable, literally power gap that you can't really define. It's just, look, she can one-shot anyone who doesn't scale to her power with like power nullification, and basically, wipe out entire multiverses and such that don't fit her narratives. But Manhattan, I feel like, really wouldn't give a shit about that with his durability and hacks. But then again, I don't think, personally, he has the abilities to break through and harm her in the White Hot Room. I honestly think, what would you think of a stalemate?
I think if it came down to those two sitting, one just camping out in the White Hot Room, attacking from there, and the other, both of them being on a similar level, in my opinion, I think a long con situation is going to favor someone like Manhattan, who's wildly, excruciatingly inquisitive whenever it comes to cosmological structures and how to utilize them. But they're both characters that are on that same level, that are so, like, similarly powerful, barring a point where they just rival each other and both have to figure each other out. If it's just a raw contest of strength, I definitely see them as equal.
Yeah. I mean, in a sense, if he was to go there also, though, she plays like that, like Candy. Like, one of her specialties is literally, sucking people in, pulling them out, controlling them. I know that if he was to get in there, he's probably the most powerful entity to do so. But it's not like that's something that's unfamiliar with her being in there. Like, the White Hot Room, one of its concepts is basically being like a bunker for others. Like, let's say Scott Summers, when he was quote-unquote boundless in power, she sucked him in there, sucked him out of his power, then threw him out. But then again, I think he was capping when he said boundless, obviously. Personally, I think it would be a stalemate. I think somehow if Manhattan was able to get there, he might have a slight edge in AP, but I think that's kind of unfair to pull it. So I would honestly give this like a 50-50. Like, nope. Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
in
why.
terms of just like raw destructive AP, he's just like blowing up the multiverse. but like obviously he's there to he it's not necessarily too crazy in character unless he thinks he can't learn anything from what he's destroying. So if he shows up and he looks at Phoenix and she's interesting, then obviously he's gonna want to tamper. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things where these two are like right around the same level. Personally, I'd favor out Manhattan a little bit, but they're definitely like neck and neck with how crazy they are.
Yeah, and personally, I honestly think I would give Jean a slight edge if I had to, but I'd give them a tie if like being fair. But I honestly think like this would be a comment section decider. It'd be like, put down in the comments who the fuck you think wins this. To be honest.
Yeah, that's a good question. Tell us down low who you guys thinks win and why, because the why is way more important than just
True.
Oh, Manhattan. Yeah, like I'm curious to hear what hacks you think will lead to a victory for whomever. I've heard a lot of arguments for like telepathy and stuff, which I'm not 100% sold on, but who knows? Maybe you have something that we overlook.
This will be actually a great utilization of that, since there will be some definitely different takes, which I think would work well with one another.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our input of it. It's definitely incredibly interesting and probably the closest battle you can get from comics, in my opinion. And I'm glad to have Lumos on here again. Check Lumos out. Lumos, what have you been doing on your channel lately?
Absolutely nothing, so I'm a garbage human being. No, I'm just kidding. Got a lot of life stuff going on, man, but I make content every once in a while. It's pretty banger stuff. I got a DC cosmology video that's pretty lit, and I cover lots of Lantern content and crossover with this guy as well as the coffee shop content creators. You can check out links below.
Oh yeah, that's good. And I got it'll be a little while since, fucking cosmology videos, especially for verses, which haven't really been covered in that stature, take a long time. Next sole video will be a Dark Tower cosmology. You can mold about it or like it.
Let's go.
They hate the nopers or the nodders. But yeah, that'll be down the line. And thank you for watching this, everyone. Thank you, Lumos. And comment. And thank you. Peace.